Inga, good afternoon. Nice to meet you. I'm glad you joined. I see from Facebook, I remember. Let's take a look at your project and analyze it in this format. I am recording voice messages for your completed homework assignments. Accordingly, it turns out that we are currently refining the offer, then the scenarios, and in the third lesson, we will cover techniques for free client acquisition and, consequently, a larger offer for an already cold audience. So, regarding your product, based on my observations and analysis, as far as I have seen and understood, you are selling consultations in the market to your clients. Look, it will also intersect with your offer and positioning, because consultation is a format. And with your goal. Look, now it's from 40 a month. And your goal is from 1 million. So it is very important to think about how this can be implemented and achieved. So if we simply break down the finances, it's clear that if you are currently earning 40,000 rubles a month, how many extended consultations do you have? 4. How much will you have to take on average per consultation to conduct consultations so that you have at least approximately 1 million? It's very important to calculate this. I won't do it right now. I don't have a calculator at hand, and I sometimes get confused in my head. So, it is very important to calculate this and understand whether you can really do it. That is, if this is the number of consultations, and here it is not only necessary to conduct these consultations, but also to find people for them, then if you understand that this is definitely not a viable option to handle that number of consultations, something needs to change, meaning you need to work differently. And one of the options, which is probably the most optimal for scaling and which we are working on, is precisely the launch of some group formats of work. Well, or at least sales of not consultations, but rather mentoring, in fact. And actually, indeed. Mentoring is likely not just one meeting, but rather likely several meetings with some tangible results. And now we are just getting to the point where I want to add something to you. It is the result that your clients achieve. And we will now take a closer look. So, regarding the difficulties a bit, there is competition. It is difficult for a person to trust and accept the fact that they need to learn more about themselves. Just look. To accept the fact that he needs to learn more about himself, this is the most important part. Why does he need to learn more about himself? That is, we basically believe that we don't know everything, but still, we already know something about ourselves. So why should I really learn more? So, for what purpose? This is the most important point to think about. In other words, this is exactly the point B, the result that people will achieve after they work with you. Right now, everything comes down to one thing, which is what you are currently lacking in your positioning. That is the point B, the result. Yes, the reason why clients will come to you and why they need to know this at all. This is important. That is the goal. And accordingly, now we are looking at the offer, how the date of birth affects your attitude or financial sphere, and social proof. The first thing that stands out to me is the attempt to engage in both relationships and finances. In other words, more and more, we want this and that. I will say right away that it's better not to do it this way because right now, for a cold audience, specifically a cold one, not your warmed up audience, if you have one, only niche approaches are working. So there's no point in combining what can be done. I call this a high frequency request. That is, we choose one thing, either finances or relationships. How to do this? If you already have 50 clients. Plus or minus, we look at what requests clients are most often attracted to you with. That is, in terms of energy, I say this in my own language as it is attracted. That is, we do not analyze why they come to us, why this happens. We do not really do any analytics. We accept as a fact that we are broadcasting When you take a closer look at your clients, you will find that, in most cases, a significant majority, which is over 60% of them, will have some kind of single request. This could be anything from a simple inquiry about a product or service to a more specific need, such as a request for a detailed report or a personalized consultation. For instance, they might ask for a customized solution tailored to their unique requirements or seek advice on how to best utilize a particular feature of your offering. Well, I mean, it's 60-80% if it's relationships, and I don't know, 20-40% is finances. So we are focusing specifically on relationships. That is, for some reason, people come to you specifically for relationships, and we don't think about why. It doesn't matter. You are still engaged in some kind of activity right now. We take the fact that the majority of people are attracted to us primarily for relationships. We completely remove all finances and focus on the first contact with clients, placing emphasis on relationships. And all the offers, all the information we build only around this. But with a warm audience, we can sell finances and everything else that is possible. However, during the first contact with clients, we build our approach. In other words, we focus on one specific thing. We will not lose focus on everything, everywhere, and everyone all at once. In other words, trying to do everything and nothing at the same time does not work. Only one thing works. Therefore, the narrower your focus is, the better it will be. Well, even if we take, for example, how the date of birth affects your relationships with whom, that is, we need more specificity here. Yes, these are some of your advantages. So, what do you like to work with? Male-female relationships, relationships with children. Damn, I don't know. There can be many different options. Even relationships with money, that's also a relationship. So what specific relationships? Relationships with a young man, relationships with a husband, with a wife. In general, in certain situations specifically, we can also extract everything from the requests of your clients. Look at the requests that come to you and just don't shy away from that direction. Trust me, this will be the best option. People will simply understand why they should come to you, or rather, to whom they should go. However, the reason for coming is something that needs to be clearly outlined in the offer. That is, it's not about how the date of birth affects your relationships, but rather how, through the date of birth, I don't know, you can improve your relationship with your husband or, well, in general, it needs to be refined somehow. Because I don't know how it affects, well, I'm not sure how interesting that is to me. How it influences my relationships or my financial sphere from birth. I would be more interested to know what I can do right now. If I have my date of birth here, that's why we would add this here. So we are returning to what I mentioned at the beginning. So what result will I get if I know or perhaps conduct some detailed analysis based on the date of birth? If you tell me this, I will be interested. Therefore, we need to work on point B here and come up with a plan. These are my recommendations. We have already launched a lot of projects. I think I have launched more than 500 projects already. And lately, this strict non-creation or non-creation until a specific product is the foundation of foundations, this is the very base that must be there. But that doesn't mean we only take one thing and work on it. We take this in order to get started, to reboot, and to prepare the product for scaling. And then we build the next systems around this. The tripwire system, the system of other products. But in order to get started, it is initially necessary to choose what to begin with. The fundamental task is to determine what to build such a managed business system on. So I gave you some direction, try to refine it a bit more and take another look. And the next lesson should be performed better, taking these recommendations into account. Well, I think you have done excellently for the first stage. I accept your homework. We are opening access to the next lesson. I remind you about the deadline of 24 hours. Please meet it. I will also take a look and provide feedback.